Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I have a fun altered journal that I made. This past week I was at IKEA and I came across this little set of these fun 3 little just blank notebooks, journals, I don't know what you want to call them, sketch pads. They were really inexpensive, nice and thin, and a small portable size. And I fell in love, especially with that lovely little mint colored one there that you see. So I'm going to embellish it using a stamp set from Unity called Gardenia Floral Border. It's a Gracielle design image, and I'm going to stamp this all in my Misty. Now that notebook, it's a little bit thick with the red rubber and even with taking the foam panel out like you're supposed to in the Misty, but it works as long as you're just kind of careful. I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment on the front. There's a little bit of texture to this, so I wanted to make sure I could stamp it multiple times and get a good clear impression. I went ahead and used my embossing buddy to make sure that nothing would stick onto the front of, none of my embossing powder would stick onto the front of my journal, except just where I've stamped my sentiment. Because of the texture, I have a nice juicy new watermark stamp pad, but I'm going to go ahead and ink it and stamp it 3 times just to make sure I really get a good impression. You can see from the reflection it's a nice crisp, heavy, dark impression. And then I'm going to pull out a piece of just white computer paper. Since this is a larger project, I wanted to have enough space to pour my embossing powder over. I decided to go with gold embossing powder since I just thought the gold and this kind of mint color would go really well together. So once I pull that white cardstock out, I fold it in half, crease it. That makes it really easy to pour the excess embossing powder back in. And I'm going to pull it over and just use my spoon and just scoop it on there nice and heavy and tap off the side just to make sure any excess comes off. And it worked really well. I didn't end up with really any embossing powder sticking anywhere that I didn't want it, which was really nice. But I pulled out my extra back in, and then I did pull out just a large paintbrush just to make sure that there wasn't any little stray bits of powder that I couldn't see, and quickly brush them off just with the texture there. Wanted to make really sure I didn't have gold embossing powder in any extra spots that I didn't want. So now I'm pulling out my heat gun, and I like to just check and make sure it's hot. I wasn't sure how much the cover on this would warp with the heat. It ended up it did a little bit just as I did it, but it relaxed back down really quickly, so I didn't have any problem with that, which I was really grateful for. I tried to be really careful just to heat it just enough to set the embossing powder and not add any extra heat to that cover and make the edges curl any more than I needed to. Now finally, I finished this off by pulling out the floral border from that same stamp set, and I used an ink color that was the same color, just a deeper shade as the cover of my notebook, just because I wanted kind of a soft little bit of embellishment. And I was originally going to kind of stamp a framer on the outside, and I ended up just putting 2 borders along the side. And then my battery died before I was able to finish, but I masked off that center part, added some gold splatters with my Starry Colors palette for just a little bit of extra embellishment, and that finishes this off. Hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.